Hi, this is Julie Campbell with Two Peas in a Bucket, and thank you for joining in for this month's Trendy Trios series. This month at Two Peas, our focus is on color, and I thought it would be fun to focus on one of the trendiest colors right now, which is the color gold. I love how trends come and go, and if you would have asked me a few years ago what I thought of the color gold, I would have been very adamant in saying that I preferred not to ever wear the color or use the color. It just wasn't appealing to me at all. And now gold has come back in style, and you can find it in jewelry, of course, and then also you'll see it in fashion and a lot of the scrapbooking products that are out right now. And I'm actually surprised because now when I see the color, I am really drawn to it and I think it's just beautiful. So that's just, I guess, one of the ways that trends affects your mindset about things. So as you can see, we're going to be making 3 different cards, and we're going to begin with this card, which is a thank you card. I'm using some pattern paper from Glitz Uncharted Waters 6x6 paper pad, and as you can see, this paper pad is double-sided and it just has some really beautiful patterns and prints. So I'm just flipping through, and I'm going to be using this floral print right here. It has some of the yellow gold that we're going to be working with, and then this neutral brown piece of paper as well. I've used my silhouette to create a die cut onto the brown piece of paper, and I want to use the negative from this die cut. This is some glitter tape from American Crafts, and it's just really, really beautiful. It has a lot of, it's very glittery, but the glitter doesn't come off if you rub on it, so it's just a really nice product. And it has a protective backing, so you can just peel that off, and then it has the adhesive on the back. So I'm just cutting a couple of strips here. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm placing my glitter strips where I want them by allowing that brown die cut piece just to kind of sit on top there. Because I want the glitter to show through that word thank and not through that little bow die cut that's above it. So now I'm just placing a second strip to make the area a little bit wider. And it's nice that it's adhesive because you can just apply it and secure it on the back really easily. That looks pretty well. Now I'm just adding some foam adhesive to the back. I like adding a little dimension when I'm using die cuts like this, especially when I'm using the negative, because it really just gives it a lot of great dimension and gives it a little bit more interest. These are some thickers from American Crafts. They're actually from the Maggie Holmes collection, and they are called Daiquiri, and they are just such a beautiful gold color, and I'm going to use this to complete the sentiment on my card. And I'm going to be working from the end of the word to the beginning of the word, just so I know that it is going to space out correctly. These enamel dots that are from my mind's eye just happen to coordinate perfectly with the pattern paper. So I'm going to add one of these navy enamel dots onto the center of my bow. I'm not really sure why I decided to pick it up with my scissors. It would be a lot easier just to do that with your fingers, but anywho, just kind of moving that in place until it's in the center of my bow. And I'm just going to use a navy cardstock card base to mat onto my card front. And the dark navy is just going to allow all those colors to really pop off the front of the card. Now when you're using a dark card base, whenever you want to write your sentiment on the inside, your little message to the recipient. One of the things I love to use is this white Signo Uniball gel pen, and it just works really, really well and shows up perfectly on that dark cardstock. Our second card that we'll be making today is inspired from this piece of vellum. This was from the Fifth and Frolic collection, and it was just a really popular, and actually still is a really popular piece of paper. But I think it's fun whenever you create your own vellum pieces as well. So you can buy just plain vellum sheets in the two-piece store. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that down to size. And now we're going to, I'm just taking a piece of white cardstock, and I want to adhere the front of that vellum onto that cardstock so that the vellum shows up a little bit more and kind of pops. And I like to use a little bit of spray adhesive when I'm working with vellum. So once I have that adhered just a tiny bit, I went ahead and did a border around my page with my sewing machine, and now I'm using my embossing buddy to just wipe off any type of static cling that might be on my vellum. You can also use a used dryer sheet as well. So I'm just taking a pencil eraser, this is a new pencil, and then with my Versamark ink, I'm just making dots, random dots, kind of all over the vellum, almost in a confetti type pattern, and it's hard to see right now, but you can actually tell where every placement of stamp is. This is some Zing embossing powder, it's gold, from American Crafts, and I'm just using that to place over the vellum, and you'll see that the areas where we stamped are going to cling to that gold embossing powder. So I'm just covering that full sheet and then just tapping off the excess. If you have little stray pieces of embossing powder, you can use a dry paintbrush and just kind of wipe those off. So I'm using my heat tool and just going over those little dots until everything is properly heat embossed. Now that that step is done, you can see that this piece of vellum that we created really does mimic the large piece of the gold vellum that I showed you earlier. I want to use some nice contrast pattern paper, and I want something that'll really give a pop of color. So this is Basic Gray's new knee-high 6x6 pad, and I'm just kind of going through until I find something that I think will work with the style of card that I'm wanting to create. So this is a really fun, really bright pink. It's hard to tell a little bit from the video, but it has some texture in it also. And I think that really works well with the gold and white. This is a ribbon pack from the Dear Lizzie Fifth and Frolic collection, and I just got it. It's brand new to me, but it is just the most adorable ribbon pack. It comes with of course, this gold ribbon that we'll be using today, but a lot of other really trendy colors and patterns. So this is a little bit different than the gold tape that we used earlier in that it doesn't have an adhesive back. It has a little bit softer feel to it than the gold tape. So I'm just wrapping that around, and since it doesn't have adhesive, I'm going to use a little piece of Scotch tape on both ends just to hold it in place. This is an ephemera pack from the Maggie Holmes collection, and I really like that there are a lot of gold embellishments that they're not the shiny metallic gold, but they're just a really beautiful gold, just the gold color itself. So I'm going to use this oval die cut to create my sentiment. This is a really fun stamp set from Mama Elephant, and it's just got some really up-to-date sentiments on it, and we're going to be using this one that says, "Hey, sexy lady." So if you listen to music at all, pop music, you will understand where this sentiment comes from. But I think it would be really fun to send to one of my friends. I think they'd get a kick out of it. So I'm just using some black ink here, my VersaFine go-to ink pad, because I really want the sentiment to pop and stand out. After looking at my card, it just feels a little too plain. So I'm taking some of this gold striped washi tape and I'm going to adhere that to the bottom of this card. I also applied a second strip of the gold ribbon. So I've placed some foam adhesive on the back of my sentiment just to allow it to pop off the front of the card a little bit more. And now I'm placing some of that same wide washi tape onto a scrap piece of white cardstock and using this little file tab punch to create a small embellishment for my card. I'll just add a little bit of adhesive to the back and then slide it in place. So this completes our second card, and I love how the color gold can be used for so many different styles. You can use it for something really elegant, or this one is just trendy and just kind of hip. You can use gold as a focal point, and you can also use it as an accent. And that's what we're going to be doing for this card. So these are some new products that I just got in today. This is some of the corrugated cardstock from Amy Tangerine, and then this is a transparency from Webster's Pages. And these are some stitch templates that are also from Amy Tangerine. We're going to be using those to create some fun embellishments for our card. And these are really neat kits. As you can see, it comes with 2 different stitching templates, and then it comes with 3 different colors of embroidery floss, and it comes with a little paper piercer and a mat. So I've trimmed down this corrugated cardstock, and I'm wanting to add this arrow to the bottom of my card front. So I'm just taking this paper piercer, and the holes are already in place there on your mat, so you can just follow along and it's really easy to just pierce those holes. And so now I'm taking some of the embroidery floss and I'm just going to separate that so I have 2 strands versus the 6 that it comes with. I'm wanting this arrow to just kind of blend into the card and not really stand out because it's not going to be the focal point. So I'm using the same color of embroidery floss as the card base. So you just back stitch and it's super simple. I'm sure even my kids could do this. So I'm just speeding it up a little bit. I'm not quite this fast. So now I'm just taking little pieces of tape and just securing the ends of my floss so that the design doesn't pull out. And as you can see, we've created a cute little arrow there at the bottom. And I've cut this chevron transparency paper to size, and I'm just figuring out how I want to place it on there. And then I'm going to take a couple of pieces of washi tape and just secure my transparency in place, because since it is a slick surface, I didn't want it to move around when I'm trying to pierce my holes. Now that everything is in place, I'm going to take my template and I want to put the word love right here. So I'm just piercing those holes. And you have to use a little bit more force through the transparency and corrugated cardstock than you would pattern paper, but it's not hard at all to do. So once all of those holes are pierced, I'm using some of the pink embroidery floss that comes in the kit, and once again I've just reduced it to two strands in this of the embroidery floss versus the 6 that it comes with. So I'm just stitching that in place just like I did the arrow and securing the ends. These are some gold stickers that are from the Dear Lizzie 5th and Frolic collection, and one side of, actually it comes with 2 sheets, so one sheet is white background with a gold letter, and then the other side is a gold background with a white letter. So I'm wanting to spell out the word sending you love, so I'm using the white background stickers for this first part of my sentiment, and then the gold background stickers for the second part of my sentiment. It just adds a really nice tiny accent of color, and then I went ahead and stitched the bottom of my the word sending, and I just wanted to make sure everything stayed in place. This is the new 6x6 collection called Composition and Color from Webster's Pages, and it is the most beautiful, beautiful paper pack. The paper is actually a lot thicker than a lot of my pattern paper. It's more of a almost like a thin cardstock weight, and they are double-sided. They're just so pretty. So I'm just wanting to flip through so you can kind of see the patterns here. They just have some really pretty soft colors and really trendy patterns like weathered wood and maps. Really neat. So I'm using this pattern paper because I thought the heart shape and the word love needed a little bit more color and pattern to give my card a little bit more interest. So I'm just going over a little tiny section of this pattern paper and stitching that heart in place. I love that this paper pack included those tiny journaling cards because it makes a perfect little section when you want to work with something tiny. It'd be really cute to use with punches or even just to use as an element all by itself. So now that I have stitched the little heart, I'm going to trim it out and just leave a little bit of paper on the edge so that I don't cut into my stitch line. I want my card to have a little bit of a shabby chic feel, so I'm taking an emery board, just a little nail file, and going across the edges of my pattern paper to kind of give it even a more worn feel than it already had. So I'm just kind of going around and then using my fingernail to just give it a little bit of worn edges. So I'm just adhering that over the original heart. And I think it just adds some, I like the color that it adds, and my card needed a little bit more visual interest. To make the card look even more shabby chic, I'm taking a white pigment pad and then just going across the edges. And the corrugated cardstock really has a ton of texture, so it picks up that white ink, and it just kind of gives it a nice weathered look. So I'm adhering that onto a white card base, and I'm just leaving it so that there's a little bit of white border around the edges. So this completes this month's Trendy Trio series. I hope that you give gold a try yourself, and please upload to the 2Ps gallery so that we can all take a peek. To find all the products that I showed you today, you can go to www.2psinabucket.com.